Welcome back to Unlimited Reads. You're with Chris, and thank you so much for joining me today for my spoiler-free review of the Shivers collection from Amazon Original Stories. 5 short stories from some of the most prominent authors on the planet, and I love when Amazon do this because I don't actively wait or look for these. They just appear in my feed, and it's always a nice surprise. As soon as I saw these, I picked them up and read each of these 5 short stories in single sittings. Now, these stories are made up of lengths of about 35 to 45 pages each, so you can read each story in one sitting very, very easily. Now, what excited me about this collection of stories was 2 of these stories were in fact written by Stephen King's sons, Joe Hill and Owen King, and it was also included Stephen Graham Jones, Katrina Ward and Grady Hendrix, which is another prominent horror writer that I enjoy reading. Alright, let's kick it off with the first story by Joe Hill, which was called Jackknife, which was a standout for me. This was about a tree steeped in legend where it was responsible for numerous deaths 40 years prior. When the main character comes across the tree, he sees that there's a pocket knife in the trunk and he pulls it out, and it's a nice looking knife. On the handle it has an engraving of a picture of Jesus putting his hand on the shoulder of a Boy Scout, so it had some talismanic properties, so that when the tree, when he pulls the knife out of the tree regains this power, and it was responsible for deaths back in the day, and this tree can seemingly move on its own and kill people. It was really, really fascinating. It was a really good start to this collection, and I really enjoyed that one and gave it 5 stars. The next story I'm going to talk about is The Blanks by Grady Hendrix. This one was quite good, not as good as Jackknife. It was about a holidaying family on this island where there are these creatures that if you look at this particular creature, it marks you and hunts you down and kills you. So the inhabitants of this island and the holiday makers have survived by just ignoring these creatures. If they ignore them, then they leave you alone, but if you look at them, then they come after you. Now, what annoyed me about this one was how easy the parents could make a sacrifice to someone for these creatures. It wasn't overly enjoyable. It was okay, but it wasn't really explained what these creatures were, so it was pretty vague. It was well written, but it didn't quite resonate me as much as Jackknife did. The next story was Night and Day in Misery by Katrina Ward. Now, this one was about how a woman is haunted by her dead son in solving a mystery involving her violent husband, which was quite interesting. It was pretty out there, and I didn't actually mind that one because it was okay. But the next story, The Indigo Room by Stephen Graham Jones, was interesting. This was set in a corporate setting in an office where premonition is the main theme here, where the main character is sitting in this indigo room in a board meeting, and she foresees certain accidents, but she'll be sitting across from someone and they'll be missing their head. The head will be hidden in shadow, but it's a premonition of something that might happen to that person. So it was a very interesting concept, and it was pretty engaging to read about. And in a short bite-sized fiction piece like this, it did pack a punch with me, but the ending was a little bit vague and a little bit weird. It just stops dead and you don't get any resolution or explanation or anything like that. So as engaging as it wasn't quite as good as Jackknife. And then we come to the final story, which is Mail Slot by Owen King. Now, I was blown away by this story. Owen King, his writing skills are phenomenal. You know, pretty much up there with Joe and Stephen King himself. As we know, Owen King co-wrote Sleeping Beauties with his dad a few years back. I really need to get around to reading some of his solo stuff like The Curator and Double Feature. I really must get into it because this story proves to me on how strong a writer Owen King is. It's about we have a situation where we've got a single mum and his son, and she has had it rough. She's had a big knee injury, it's limited her life, and their father had died sometime prior. And what happens is the main character comes across this old house that was in development but fell to ruin, and there's a mail slot there, and he ends up conversing by mail with this mysterious entity that can actually trade him So what he does is he's required to write down the name of a person he hates and put it in the mail slot, and in exchange this entity will give him some light or some luck. And what happens is certain events happen, and there's a really good twist at the end with what is behind this mysterious entity. But the whole thing was really well written, and it just proved to me that both Joe Hill and Owen King, the apples don't really fall far from the tree, do they? And I just think the standout stories for me were Jackknife and Mail Slot. They were obvious quality stories. The other ones were okay, but these two were just a standout for me. And yeah, can't wait for Joe Hill's next book that's coming in August or September, I think. And I really must get into Owen King stuff because that story just it kicks ass. And these stories, you can buy them for about $3 each, or if you have a Prime membership, you can actually borrow them through Prime Reading. And when you finish them, you just return them, and away you go. But I'm so glad I picked these up. They're very quick reads. They take no time at all. You can read 2 of them in your lunch break while you're working. They were just really good overall. A couple of the other ones, not so much, but you know, it was great to read them all regardless. And I always enjoy when Amazon original stories deliver these. So that is it, guys, for my spoiler-free review of the Shiver collection. Can't wait to see what Amazon original stories bring out next. But if you like my videos, please consider subscribing. But until the next video, guys, happy reading.